state jet flag, floating in the flies, nigga. Yeah, criminology rap, sneaker state jet flag, floating in the flies, nigga. Sneaker state, jet black, floating in the flies, nigga, yeah. Criminology rap, sneaker state, jet black, floating in the flies, nigga.
You turn the mics on? Okay. If you're watching on Broad Street, I hope I look pretty tonight. I'm giving you we changed it up a little bit. I'm wearing the same thing that I wore last night, except we want to open up with definitely shouting out the black artists who helped me put my look together. Mm-hmm. Can the girls see me, Keys? The girls can see me? Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Black Matter Podcast. Yes, I hope you're hearing that applause fade out because I have learned how to work stuff literally for InLight.
Yes, you know, you skill up. You skill up every step of the way. What's up, Broad Street?
Ooh, we got some crickets.
Stop.
So we're gonna play with sounds as we go. So welcome everybody. I am so excited to bring you episode. I think we are on episode 4. Yes, we are. We're on episode 4 of the InLight series. And just quick shout out. I want to remind you that there are 4 episodes that we're doing as part of 2020 InLight. The first one, Dr. Towns, Amon Towns at University of Richmond, kicked off a really dope conversation around fugitivity as it connects to con artistry, and we did the performance studies, black studies, all the black academic stuff for the folks who need to know the citations with what we're going to be talking about tonight. And so shout out to Towns for having a really great conversation with me, and that's already on the Black Matter podcast platform, wherever you listen to your podcast. So you should subscribe to the podcast right now and go home, pour a cup of tea and curl up and learn about the art of scamming, deception, and magic.
You won't regret it.
That is con artistry. And then shout out to another housekeeping thing I need to do is last night we made a little bit of a mistake.
It's okay. That's very human. Oh my God.
So corny, right?
Oh.
But don't worry. We're gonna.
Y'all don't tell nobody I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But don't worry. I got other ones. I had to call Cassidy to make a mistake last night. So Aurora, Dr. Aurora, we put the wrong Cash App or Venmo for her, but we've changed that. And so if you are in the audience right now and you heard Aurora speak last night, or if you know Aurora Higgs, just
have
because
you ever heard her
she's
talk?
Dope, get your phone out and send her a Cash App. And that actually leads into my next point. So the Cash Apps and the Venmos that you see on the bottom of our screen, right, Keys? In the lower thirds is what they call it. Learned that term last night. Are they there? Dope. Okay, so those are not just for your viewing pleasure, InLight participants. Those are for you to practice reparations right now. So take out your phone. Rebecca and I both have our Cash Apps and Venmos open. And if we say something that is dope, or just for us being here, being alive, and being beautiful and dope and queer, send us some money, right? I need to get my nails done. This do-rag was not cheap. Shout out to Nancy who made the do-rags. So yes, it's a way for you to pay black artists now, black artists who are sitting next to me during these episodes, and also all the artists in Richmond who helped to make Everyday Black Matter film, the film, and also just everyday black dopeness in Richmond possible. So you all know a black artist, you all know someone in Richmond who is dope and who's doing it, who's been out here doing this work before white people realize oh my God, coronavirus. Because for y'all, it's your first pandemic. For us, it's our second one. So pay up, okay?
Thank you.
So I wanted to make that clear. Love you, Aurora. And our next thing is what we want to do is I just want to set the space for where we are tonight for the folks who are tuning in for the first time. So we are intentionally not where you are, because what we wanted to do was really hold space through this dope InLight platform that is our institutions doing work in Richmond, which is great. But it's important that right now, especially in 2020, we hold space for black folks just being able to be, right? And so y'all are watching a stream of us at a undisclosed location that I'm about to tell you, because we really wanted to make sure that we allowed ourselves to have kind of a sacred moment of talking about healing and black joy, and also honoring the lives of black women who have been whose lives have been lost at the hands of the state.
And we just trying to keep y'all on y'all toes.
Yes, want to keep you on your toes. And
Don't get caught slipping in 2020.
Exactly, it's not the year. We're also talking to you, the institution for which we are at, and the institution that has put on InLight. Don't get caught
slipping in 2020.
This is the year to do better. Say it again. That's 1, 2, 3.
Don't
do better.
Look, all right, from the top. Do better.
Do better.
Oh my God,
we'll get it together. Speaking of differences, my pronouns are he, him, they, them.
My pronouns are they and them, and my name is Rebecca Keel.
And so with that, again, I lost my train of thought, but the reason why we're not with you physically is because we want to reiterate that it's important that you pay black artists. You don't just have access to us. And so you get to see us on a screen, and we get to be here drinking rosé and kikiing and celebrating all that is black life. And so with that, I would like to set the frame for where we are on a more serious note. Keys, please cue up Dr. Anjali Moon's voicemail.
Her Flowers is a mural commissioned by Africana as a part of our 5-year multi-day festival. It is designed to give reverence, honor, and respect to Black women across this country whose lives have been taken at the hands of state-sanctioned violence, most specifically via police brutality. These women all lost their lives between the times of 1984 and the present. Some of these names that you'll see are well known, some you may have never heard of, but all of them were loved and cared for by people, and so we wanted to offer a space of reverence. One of the other things that's really special about the mural for me is the people who actually brought it to life. So I reached out to 8 Black male painters in the area to see if they would intentionally come in and hold space for Black women, because we understand that's part of the conversation and part of the shift that is taking place, is ensuring that more than Black women are giving that level of regard to our lives. And so they, without hesitation, stepped up to make this piece possible. That is Hamilton Glass, S. Ross Brown, Julian Green, Jason Ford, Sir James Thornhill, Amiri Richardson Keys, David Marion, and Silly Genius. And I appreciate all of those brothers for understanding the importance of a piece like this, especially in a time like this. It has been. Her Flowers is a fallout that comes from the family and friends and community that their lives impacted, but then also in us having a system that still allows for the blatant disregard and value of any life, but especially Black life in this country. And so we hope that this mural can hold some level of space for moving us into a stronger and better place.
Okay, and we're back. So again, thank y'all for being here, and we want to hold space for why we're here, and we want to hold space for the Black women who have made it possible for me and Rebecca to be here tonight.
Literally birthed us.
Yes, and so also in honor of the Give Her Her Flowers mural and the Give Flowers project, and the folks, the artists in particular, Black men who helped put this mural together, and Africana Film Festival, who saw the value in making sure that we're slowing down in 2020 to really remember lives that have been lost, but also the lives of Black women who are here and the lives that these women have touched. So like even when we think about the name that is trending right now, which is Breonna Taylor, I think it's also important, speaking for myself, to think about the lives that she touched. I mean, she was also an essential worker. She was an EMT. And so I always, what keeps me up at night about these stories is the something else, thinking about the something else that is there. So how did she experience joy? How, did she, find happiness? What
were her hobbies? What she did
what
for
were her
fun?
hobbies? Yeah.
What was her like signature move at the club? You know?
So with thinking about those things, it really helps me connect to what Black Matter is all about. And within this kind of movement of Black Lives Matter, I think that sometimes we get, as Black people, we get reduced to kind of talking about our survival and talking about our trauma and asking and pleading and teaching institutions that are claiming to value us and claiming to be diverse and inclusive. We often have to teach them how to see us and how to value our humanity. And I think what sometimes gets lost in the exhaustion of all of that is the matter within the Black matter. So the non-monolithic, the complicated, the nuanced, the dope, the
the sensual,
ghetto until proven fabulous,
yes,
or ghetto until co-opted, right? All of the things that make everyday Black life as it is, without code switching and all that bullshit, makes everyday Black life fine art. And so I often think about, especially when I see the moms of fallen Black women and Black folks, have to get pushed into the spotlight and speak up. I think about what did they want to do before all this happened? Like maybe Trayvon Martin's mom wanted to open a bakery. Like who knows? What were Breonna Taylor's dreams and aspirations? And now how has her whole family's life and her friend's life and her homegirl's life been impacted by this? And I think
have had to transform.
And will continue to have to kind of carve a different path from what was planned. And so tonight I want to hold space for Black Matter being here and really thinking about Black life, everyday Black life, as beautiful and as as loving and pleasure seeking. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on the show, homie,
Why you want to bring me on the show?
is because let me get my little journal. I was journaling about this, but one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the show, and I'm going to introduce you in a second, is because while we're out here, fighting for our lives and speaking truth to power, I think it's good that we hold space for Black women who have lost their lives at the hands of the state. The very state that some of us have to work for, right? But I also know that there is something important about what Aurora was saying last night around escapism and reminding us that, I think it's just important for us to have moments to recognize the Black folks in our city and beyond who hold space for something more, for something alternative, who look past, gender binaries, who look past rules around professionalism. And yes, we are mourning lives that have been lost, but there is still an urgency for joy and for pleasure and for intimacy and for Black love, for non-binary Black love, for queer love, and all those things I think are interlocked with Blackness, with intersectional Black identity. And so, Rebecca, I find you to be someone that while you are instrumental in burning down the bullshit that is these systems, you hold space for not only con artistry, which we're going to talk about tonight, and we're going to play a beat to get us into it, but you hold space for, centering our pleasure and remembering the importance of Black life not being reduced to death or to trauma. And, when we're at these institutions, especially, I'm really, sick and tired of I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, but I'm sick and tired of how it often feels like when we are funded to do our work in these institutions, it is usually mainly supported only when we're talking about
death and trauma and generational trauma and slavery and where we are now and which one of our family members might be next. It's very... what is paid for is trauma and tragedy. And
I wonder, the names that are on the mural behind us, the names that don't fit into the container of respectable Blackness or professional Blackness, I wonder if the names who, engaged in sex work, who engaged in law breaking, who were queer,
disabled,
I
formerly
wonder
incarcerated.
and especially incarcerated, I wonder if their names would trend as much if people had known about the other ways that they engaged in survival. And I think for folks who look at the law and say the law is stacked against us, the rules are stacked against us, whether we have the money or the PhD or not, whether I do it the right way or the wrong way, I'm still going to get followed in the store. So I think it's important to learn from the Black women and Black queer folks in particular who have said, this shit is stacked against me anyway, so I'm going to experience joy and get a diamond by any means necessary.
Any means necessary.
And so with that, I want to play a little bit of Johannes Barfield's beat that he basically took the meaning of con artistry, which has been on the screen for y'all to see before we came live. He's taken that and he's helped me to put it through sound.
Okay.
So in your own time, I encourage you to check out the mural at the Valentine. It is going to be here for a while, and shout out to Africana Film Festival for putting this project together.
Shout out.
And I also encourage you to take one of the names. I'm going to read one. Darisha Blackwell is the first name that I saw when I turned around, and I want y'all to go home tonight and look up her story and reflect and process and do your part to make sure that this shit stops happening. Without further ado, Rebecca Keel, everybody. Ooh, we got to get that. Here we go there. So I want to talk to you about, when I talk about this mural, what does her flowers bring up for you personally, professionally, spiritually, as it connects to your everyday Black matter? And I'm not just saying that to do like a shameless plug to the film. It's really meant to show how important it is to recognize intersectional Black identity, intersectional Black bodies, and how when we think about ourselves outside of these binaries that separate us, we are all connected. And that's why I think, I'm inspired by, and I'm also, I want to make it clear that, Black men help paint this mural. Mm-hmm. And it's not to celebrate them or to say like, oh, good job, but it's also to recognize that
it's to say about time.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So I'm glad that you took that from me because I want you to kind of, go ahead. So when I say her flowers, what is it bringing up for you right now?
It makes me think of the substance of humanity, the substance of life, of Black life, and we named this already, but like the nuances, the differences, the components, the pieces, the particles, the experiences that make up the matter, who you are as a person, what pleases you, what are your boundaries, what are your hobbies, what are the things that bring you joy and you spend time doing when you're not slaving away in capitalism, What are the ways that you share and show love? Who do you share and show love with? Can we cuss?
Yeah.
How do you fuck?
Yes. This is, as Wendy Williams would say, this is my show. So InLight, Valentine, whatever, this is my show.
Yeah, and the matter piece of it, and it's again, going back to the substance of humanity, we all have a range of emotions. We all have this organ of skin. We all have desires and insecurities. That's very human, right? But then within the United States and the way Black bodies, particularly Black women's bodies and femme bodies, and queer bodies and disabled bodies have been made to be kind of a vehicle for reproduction or a vehicle for being just different and other. Unfair is not even like the word for it, but it's just been, we become so stereotyped into being one kind of way, one kind of thinking, one kind of all the things. And so to have this, what this mural means to me is a lot of things. It's complicated because it's around people who have, Black women specifically, who have lost their lives at the hands of state violence. Because the officer who decided to draw their weapon pulled on all those stereotypes, pulled on all those biases, pulled their trigger and took someone's life, And so without knowing someone's experience, without having a nuance, without seeing someone as just a regular person, was so much in fear, was so much driven by what we're socialized to think about Black women, that they thought that woman's life had no purpose, had no substance, that it did not matter. So they pulled that trigger. And so that's what this represents to me. So I do community organizing, that is focused on the liberation of all oppressed people. And we know, hands down, and if you didn't know, now you about to know, you about to get learned, that Black women are a particularly marginalized, particularly oppressed group because of the ways that we are both Black, like melanin Black, and don't let this blonde hair and this eyes fool you and all that good stuff. I got albinism. My people are Black people. I was just born a little different. But to think about the ways that both Black women are marginalized, made to feel different. Society tells us we're different because we're both Black and women. We have to not forget in 2020, women have made a lot of gains, but women are still an oppressed class of humans worldwide, not only in the United States, but worldwide. So to think about...
And we're talking to you too, white women, so
yes,
get your shit together.
Yeah, really. And help some sisters get some coins. So go ahead and send me that Venmo or Cash App.
We're waiting for the Venmo and the Cash App. Because I don't want to interrupt you, but you are spitting some game, and this is not free. So as they are spitting... You need to be...
Yeah. And I want y'all to know, like, I'm a paid community organizer. Like, I'm truly not starving, but a many of people in my life are. And so I redistribute my funds. As soon as I get them, I put them in someone else's pocket. So this money, like, yeah, I'm going to spend it. Yeah, I'm going to go buy a new comforter because it's cold outside.
And you deserve it.
And my windows is drafty because I live in a little shabby apartment in the city of Richmond. But I also make sure that my pregnant little sister got what she need. I also make sure that my auntie got what she need. I also make sure my sister got what she need. You know, so the money gets redistributed.
And I like that in your work, you're always finding these ways to educate and also call out the ways that we're, you know, kind of tethered to capitalism. You know, even us having this conversation, being supported by an institution, et cetera. For some of us, it's like, this is just how we put food on the table, but like, don't get it twisted. I think these institutions, you know, will never understand the value of Blackness. And I think for some of us, getting the PhD or working, you know, at the corporate office, I think for some of us, it is about redistribution of resources. It is about playing the game and getting into the belly of the beast and tearing it up from within. And for some, and you know, that is not that radical. I mean, that's just our Black bodies are a disruption into these spaces. And especially when we show up and we decide that I'm not going to code switch and I'm going to tell you that you just pissed me off. And I don't care if you label me an angry Black woman, like, you're not going to piss me off. So I think when we disrupt these spaces, we get labeled as too much or unprofessional or whatever. And all that is coded in anti-Blackness. But they can't come for you when you are doing the things that you need to do with the resources, right? And so I think in 2020, we have gotten to a point where it's like, we have all we need to know that like these institutions need to go and do that shit on their own. And I think for some of us, you know, we're taking the resources and creating alternative ways to build wealth or to create community and to also create family outside of like non-hetero, you know, normative kind of ways.
Right. I got a wife to support.
And congrats on that.
Thank you. I am a oh my God.
Yes. I told you I wanted to celebrate joy.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a newlywed. Yes, and it
Yes.
feels really good to be loving authentically, I will say. If you find yourself, I've just really quick PSA. If you find yourself in a relationship that doesn't truly make you happy, leave that shit. Straight up. Don't do it for the
Break up
posturing.
with him.
Don't do it for your family. Do it for you. Do it for your heart. Do it for your pleasure.
Yeah, and if you find that monogamy doesn't work for you, there are other options.
There are so many other options.
There
There are
really
so
are.
many other
Actually,
ways
we're
of
consulting about
being.
those options right now, aren't we? So, con artistry, right? It's a theory, right? And it is a performative practice, and it is something that I use the resources of the academy to create. But as Rebecca said, like, don't get it twisted. Just because I, you know, am a university professor, it doesn't mean that I'm not a con artist. And con artistry comes directly from, you know, learning from Black folks who I said earlier, who are scammers, who deceive the system, and who recognize that the ways that we survive in, the ways that we, you know, take back our life and center our joy and not just survive but thrive and have pleasure is getting into a lot of these spaces, these white supremacist spaces, and engaging in the art of deception. And I think con artistry helps us to think about, you know, who is criminal and who is not in a society where we know that the law is, you know, in bed with white supremacy. And so some folks get labeled entrepreneur and some folks get labeled criminal for the same exact action, right? I grew up in the suburbs of Connecticut. Shout out to y'all, because I'm definitely waiting for Venmos from my friends from Connecticut who are watching. And I grew up with a lot of kids who had a lot of fucking wealth, and you know, daddy was money laundering. If y'all have seen Ozark on Netflix, like,
That's your daddy.
no, not my daddy. But I've grown up around families like that. But like, they don't get caught because white collar crime is completely different from crime in the hood, right? So it's important to think about what can be learned from scammers. And I think for me, con artistry is really about, I practice con artistry through art making, right? Through getting into these spaces and you know, getting an art grant, but really holding space for alternative ways of knowledge.
And resource distribution.
Yes,
because there are a lot more really fundamental readings of political education, of the Black experience that are put in Northside at 6 Points Innovation Center.
Shout out to Six Pick.
Shout out to Six Pick.
Yes. And I'm the Black academic at Six Points Innovation Center. So again, like, speaking of con artistry, like, the books that are in the Black Academic Library at Sixpic. We have a huge library of books by Black and POC identifying and queer authors. You can, send me a Venmo and put Sixpic in the line, and those resources will go directly to supporting that library at Sixpic. Because the reason why we're building that library at Sixpic is because even though the academy and the institution called higher education has worked for me, I don't think that, the ticket out of racism is educating all kids in the hood that they just need to go to University of Richmond. I think that it's important to take the resources from the spaces that are ours in the first place. And since there's one nigga at University of Richmond, we can utilize my body to fuel things into Sixpic, because I know that these institutions of higher learning can be very violent spaces for Black folks, especially for Black youth. And so I want to make sure that we are really disrupting that narrative about college equals success. No.
Because it don't.
It don't. Because their diversity
especially
inclusion
in
is
this
like...
economy nowadays, shoot, you got all kinds
God.
of people getting college degrees with all kinds of debt.
Yes. So con artistry, it's an essential tool for moving our Black bodies away from striving to survive and instead demanding to thrive by any means necessary. Shout out to my mom.
Shout out to my mama, too.
Yes. And an essential part of con artistry, I need to cue it up because I want to make sure that y'all remember an essential part of con artistry, as Dr. T and I will remind you. I hope it's this one.
Don't do anything for them unless they overpay you. Don't do anything for them unless they overpay you. Unless they overpay you, don't you do anything for them.
What's that bringing up for you? And shout out to everybody in Everyday Black Matter Film.
Yeah.
We're about to bring a special guest on in a little bit. Special guest brought a bunch of people. Okay, cute. I don't have enough to drink for all y'all. This is not a barbecue, but very cute. When we talk about con artistry, and what's really dope about con artistry is, like, again, I didn't just create this term from being in the academy. It's inspired by a lot of my dope ass friends who, look at the law and say, I'm gonna do something different. It's inspired by my mother, who, definitely centered our joy by any means necessary, who definitely looked at the law and saw that it was stacked against us. And, speaking of magic, my mom and I used to get dressed up and go look at mansions in Connecticut. Knew that we could not afford to buy it, but like doing those things with my mom, looking at oversized houses and like making up some story where we would look at the house, like it allowed my Black body to like center dreams, right? And I think sometimes our imagination is the only safe space for us. And so it allowed me to see myself, outside of the circumstance that had disrupted our life, like homophobia and state-sanctioned violence and incarceration and all those things. And so I have, as I'm dealing with the bullshit that is institutions today, for which the institution that I work at is a part of, I remember the way that my mom and I like engaged in kind of like a worlding practice, like just going on a drive and like finding a big ass house that had an open house and like exploring that and making up a whole story and just like, it was like magic play, right? And so in this current moment in 2020, I'm thinking about a lot of those just portals that I think Black women like open up for us. Black women who play with gender inherently. My grandma, who would always say, like, I'm the mommy and the daddy, right? And just like the way that
Grandma was like that.
yeah, and just like the way that I think the Black
Child's
experience
grandma.
is very tethered to a
What's her
queer
name?
experience.
What's your grandma's name?
Una Thomas, and she's on that's why the voicemails were so important for the film. So shout out to everybody who's in Everyday Black Matter Film. But I want to talk a little bit about con artistry because I know you have some stories.
Yeah, and like I will say that sharing stories is such a powerful gift because I rarely talk about my mama because she had to do so much like grimy shit for our survival that it's like I have been made to feel very ashamed and keep it a secret. But it wasn't until you started sharing your stories about you and your mama's experiences that I was like, wow, like I'm really not alone in this, so.
There are over, I don't know the exact number, but I did at one point, there are, I think, approximately like over 2 million youth who have experienced a parent in the system. And again, you're right, like these labels of like at-risk youth, child of the incarcerated,
right.
marginalized, like they will have you growing up and going into these institutions, even if you have doctor in your name or not, and thinking that your story is not worth telling. And I majored in criminal justice in universities that I went to. And I remember like being in the classroom and being like, this white lady doesn't know the fuck she's talking about. Like I visit my mom every Sunday and that's not how it goes. So you need to sit down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's important to recognize that our stories as Black people, especially the disrespectable or the non-traditional or the stories of, at-risk youth or whatever, they fill knowledge gaps. They really do. And so that's why like whatever I'm doing with my work, like podcast, whatever, it's important to center the story and to hold space for the stories that, even the names that are behind me, the stories that don't fit the proper, help me out, the proper proper narrative.
The mold,
went to college and all that stuff.
Yeah. So my mom, and I'm honestly like, oh, I can't believe I'm telling like people this, but it's really important. And I actually talked to my mama today, and I was like,
it's a part of your Black Matter.
It really is. So my mama was a stripper, and she was like not the, I don't know if y'all watch P-Town or whatever Instagram people y'all follow. My mama was not the kind of bitch who was on the pole doing all the amazing athletic tricks and everything. My mama was a talker. She was a listener. She was someone who would sit down with you. She would identify the loneliest, oldest, whitest man in the club and go and sit down and talk with him because he was obviously there to have some company.
And this is pre-Venmo, so she had to work hard.
This is pre-Venmo, y'all. This was like the 90s and the early 2000s. And so what she did was she would conversate with people. She would grow a connection with them. She would build an empathetic connection, and she would get paid to do that. Some would call that a counselor. Someone would call that, and I think bartenders maybe have this experience too, of just really listening to people's problems. But she would find some old, unhappy white man. And again, don't let this lack of melanin fool you. My people are Black people, and I got albinism. But she would seek out those people to then build a relationship with them based off of her getting paid, first and foremost. And I asked my mom, I was like, did you ever feel any kind of way about this? And she was like, look, if you at a strip club and someone's giving you a lot of attention and you're too... this is her words, if you're too dumb to understand that you're getting this attention because I'm getting paid out of this, then you honestly deserve to get conned. You honestly deserve to get scammed. If you're not understanding this dynamic, this social dynamic, the power and privilege that you have as a white man lying to your both wife and workplace saying you're at a lunch break, but you really at the candy bar on 2:30 on a Tuesday afternoon, so... I mean, that was life, and that was my lunch money. So, and she did some conning not only at the club, but like I said, she was forming relationships with people. So they would go out to eat a lot, like go on, shopping.
This sounds like how I got my college scholarship. They come into your neighborhood and they take you out and they say, oh, this is a great school for you. And they show you the pamphlet with all the other Black kids that are there, and you get there and you're like, I'm alone. And those Black kids graduated like 30 years ago.
And many men would like promise my mama if you don't want to do this, I'll just pay for you to go to school and everything. My mama was like, honestly, I make more money doing this than I would from some loan that I would maybe have to pay off later and then have to just sit through academia and all that stuff. So my mama really played this game for 13 years as a stripper.
Wow.
So that was a major chunk of my childhood was this understanding.
It's a career.
It was a career, and she didn't hide it either. She really didn't hide it. Me and my siblings would play dress up in her floss. Like, she really did not try to hide it.
In her what?
In her floss and her stripper clothes.
Oh, okay. Cute. I love it. And so you said that you essentially interviewed her today to prepare her that you were going to be on Black Matter talking about these things.
Yeah. Because I've been made to feel really ashamed about this.
I love that you put that in front, like been made to feel, because I think that is so much of, especially the Black queer experience. Like, our stories are our stories, right? Yeah. And I think being Black and queer identifying, it allows you to kind of, for me, to kind of grow up as like a fly on the wall in certain Black spaces. So like, you're seeing things in the barbershop and in the beauty salon that folks who are more hetero identifying like don't necessarily see, right? So like, I saw a lot of queerness in my mom and my grandmother and my Auntie Sharon, of like how they would come home, with the long ponytail weave on, and then like take it off to cook and put on the scarf, and then if like a white lady knocked on the door, put the ponytail weave back on because you had to be presentable and like all that stuff. Or my mom being like, can Rebecca come over? I would say like, can Rebecca come over for a sleepover? No, I already took my bra off. Rebecca can't come over. Like, just those memories of just like the transformation that is Black women. I think like, we would be remiss to not recognize how like that inspires, gender play not just in other black women, but also in black boys as well.
Oh yeah,
And
because my brother was playing with that floss.
Exactly, yeah. So, you know, my queerness and my gender play and the way that I hold space for just like, you know, dressing up in my house and like, you know, having both male, female, and in between friendships where, you know, we do play with gender in those ways. It is a direct correlation from the black women that I grew up around, who were always, you know, just like constantly transforming, and having to, you know, have fun with the things that were violent, like code switching, like knowing that you had to have straight pressed hair in order to get this job interview. And like, you know, my mom, like we would all take out her braids on like a weekend, like all the things that, you know, we had to do in order to be like presentable. I think to cope with it, sometimes you turn it into play.
Yeah, straight up. Let's talk about the shopping sprees.
Yeah. So one of the things, another memory besides looking at the big houses is like, and now you're like now I have this energy too of like, I feel like these are taboo stories.
I know, it's like kind of, so y'all really need to like pay up for like, real if you're watching this, because it's, oh my God.
These sounds are corny, but I want to learn how to use this. So it's more of a practice thing for me.
I ain't even mad at you.
But we got some beats in here, so we will play the beats.
Okay.
Yeah, so shopping sprees, like I remember, it's funny because it feels like these things were like just yesterday. And the thing that's really important to make clear is that like the reason why I think these stories are so rich and so important right now is because in this era in 2020, I feel like a lot of black folks are like saying, fuck it, fuck respectability politics. Like, you know, we gonna be on
my wedding was a GoFundMe.
We gonna be on some city girl shit, and like, you know, we're just gonna like tell our stories. And I think, you know, one of my really great memories of my mom too is like we would go on these like really excessive shopping sprees, like. School shopping was driving to New York City and getting, you know, bags and bags and bags of clothes. And I just remember, you know, having this like this guilt of like, wait a minute, I don't even know how we're like paying the essential stuff. But like, yeah, but my mom being like, we need to do what we need to do. And being like the best dressed kid at school, like having a cell phone at a way too early age, like, you know, we had all those things, and like, you know, the material stuff didn't matter. It was really, when I look about it and I get the conditioning of like the criminality is bad out, you know, I push that to the side. There is just like really dope memories, black joy memories of like a young queer kid like in the mall with his mom, like making up a story why we need to get these things off layaway and get like a certain discount, you know, and like, you know what I'm saying, like getting home and having bags of shit and like, you know?
Yeah, and for me, it was like, I talked with my mama today about these really fond moments I had around like Christmas and like, yes, fuck Christmas, fuck capitalism, all these things. But it's like a ritual of, you know, setting up the tree with your family and everything and like not seeing a whole lot, you know, like be under the tree. But then like you wake up on Christmas morning and the floor is covered.
And you're running like, how did she get them?
How? The question was always how. Y'all,
I'm 32 years old and I still don't know how my mom got the funds to do certain things.
Y'all, I had an Xbox the first day it came out, you know, and like, I mean, and I thought that was really special because like we just did not live like that, you know? And so, but I talked to my mom today and I was like, okay, so how did that really happen? And she was like, well, I had a client at the club and, you know, like a few days before Christmas, he would take me shopping and just spend thousands of dollars on y'all, you know? And my mom even told me that she had to sometimes frame it with particular clients as like, this isn't for me, this is for my sister's kids, you know, kind of thing. So the ways that she had to manipulate a story, twist some shit around, you know.
And it's never singular. Like when I think about the stuff that my mom did as well with us, like it was never really for her. It was always for like for her own kids, but then like our cousins' kids, her nieces and nephews, like everybody was getting bags of clothes.
Yeah.
And I just think that is why I think it's so important for me as a black man to hold space for black women to think about how like, you know, I'm watching Lovecraft Country.
Oh, so good.
Sorry to just like bring in a pop culture example, but like for the people that like have no idea what we're talking about, like watch the show on HBO.
If you like sci-fi, watch it.
Yeah, watch sci-fi. And when, I think her name is Hippolyta, the mom, when she goes to the kind of like black utopia land, she gets asked if she wants to come back to this like bullshit space called white supremacist America. And the woman that like runs the place says like, you can stay here forever and she won't experience racism. She can live out all her black dreams and like experience pleasure and intimacy and black joy. And she can choose her own name and how she's identified. Like it's amazing. But she says like, I have to go back to this place. And it's because for the other black women, it's for her daughter and it's for the women that she's kind of carrying behind her. And I think a lot about that in terms of like
what a metaphor.
I know. sorry to go deep, but when I think about my mom, I think about how like the shopping sprees were rarely for her. The imaginative play of like looking at the mansions when we knew we weren't supposed to be there, like it was rarely like for her. I think it directly correlates to how a child like me who didn't have a lot of resources, like look at, you know, this institution, this grant, this PhD, living around the world and back, like, and say like, yeah, those things are for me. I don't care that I don't have the money. Like I'm going to Tokyo for 2 years. I'll beg, borrow, and scam. Like joy is for me as well. Pleasure is for me as well. And I don't care about the white kids that like have the generational wealth to get there. Like I will get there too, right? Like I have been on many a flights and scammed my way into first class.
Hey.
Period. Right? There was a hair in my food, and I will not sit in coach. Like I learned all those things from my mom. I will experience first class because I deserve it. If I have to deal with racism, we deserve all those things as well. Yes, I brought an expensive dog, of course, because I wanted it. And like I think it's just important for us to recognize, especially in this 2020 year, like whatever it is, not just materials, capitalist bullshit, like whatever it is that you want for your Black life, like you deserve it.
Yeah.
Because like we built this whole shit.
Exactly.
And so shout out to the women in our lives, your mom and mine, who have like, you know, said that from the beginning.
I love you, Mom.
Love you too, Mommy. My mom's in Jamaica, so I was trying to go for sure. I had this like fantasy of like, you know, going and getting the long braids and just like doing the thing on the beach, and then COVID happened. That was gonna be my graduation gift to myself. Like when I finished grad school, like I'm gonna go to Jamaica and just like talk to my mom about this shit, right? Like have a real kiki and like, look, I'm not upset with you. Like I get it because I'm doing the right things and they still follow me in the store. So
The way they was
I might need some
following her.
lessons to start. me and your mom have to open a club together.
Look.
Not just let P Valley be a TV show. All right? Because
right.
Richmond is lacking on sex workspaces.
Well, she would have to do it in Southwest Virginia, where
See,
she resides
you know the
now,
laws
you
too.
know?
That's some kind of artistry shit. You know the rules.
Oh my God.
So how do we get, you know, through them? So
you know, interesting thing about the rules, I just want to put this out there real quick, that in Virginia you cannot show your nipples at a strip club if you serve liquor. And so I was a kid who was like sitting cutting out my mom's pasties before she went to work and everything. But it really hit me to like the ABC laws in the state, you know, and I was learning that as like an 8-year-old, you know, and so just understanding some of those legal dynamics, some of those dynamics about bodies and display and pleasure and all that, just by helping my mom get ready for work.
and how it's so policed.
So police.
Yeah.
You can't show nipples at a
The
goddamn
state is
titty
in our
bar.
lives.
Like, come on.
Yes. What were you feeling about the con artistry beat? So I know I said this to you before, and you and I talked about con artistry when I was creating the term. But remember the kitchen conversation. So shout out to that great day we put up a tent and just chilled in the park.
Yeah,
did our thing.
that's so good.
But when you heard Johannes's beat, like what was it bringing up for you in terms of like transforming this or translating it into sound?
It was just like the steadiness of it, you know, like, because that beat is really like, don't let me like try to emulate the beat now, but yeah, pop it on real quick.
I got it on real quick because I wanted to talk about the water. And we got Johannes here with us, so he's going to come say a little bit up.
Shout out to you, Johannes.
I know. Where's the beat at? Well, we got multiple versions of it. So this kind of started out from a writing project that I did. Whoops. See, she don't know what she's doing. All right, so I'm gonna cut it short because we gotta wrap up. But yeah, the beat is dope, and the beat started out from a project that I was doing at the university for which I work at. I didn't just want con artistry to be legible through like writing and theory talk. I wanted it to be something that could be shared through other Black bodies, through whatever medium that you use, and then
and music be reaching people. We all know that.
I know,
that's
right? And like my grandma ain't gonna read my dissertation.
Nah.
But she will listen to that beat. She will, right? And she'll clean the house to it, and we'll kiki about it.
Yes.
Right? Because I already
She
sent.
be like, oh, I like the bells.
Yes.
What
And
that
that's why we
mean?
had to have that reggae, you know, conversation. And same thing with the podcast. Like all of this is just to make the work more accessible to the people that I'm honoring in my work. And so shout out to Johannes for helping make that possible. You want to come say a little what up to people? Yeah, while you're getting over here. So I'm glad that I got to share that with you because you were one of the folks that I think in practice is doing some kind of artistry shit and like recognizes it. So it was really great to bring that to you. Keys, I'm having that issue with the things again. I want to go back to number 1. But it's cool. We'll just do a fake hand clap. What up, Johanna?
Yeah. Hey, welcome. Thank you for your music.
Yes, we're going to go to bank 1. So you want to say anything real quick about this collaboration and Everyday Black Matter? So this is the lead musician that put all the music together for Everyday Black Matter film. And then we worked with Wes Taylor to make the con artistry be a thing. So I can't do the, we got to give you your flower. Johannes Barfield, everybody.
How's everybody doing? This is so strange. So where's the camera here?
Yeah, the blue light. I know.
Just tell them your Cash App.
Cash App is Johannes Barfield, but it's with a capital J, capital B. If anybody knows how to spell it, it's JOHANNES, capital BARFIELD.
Nice. And how's InLight going for you? Because you're on multiple projects. I know your partner's got a project. You're a part of this project.
Yeah, definitely. InLight has been very interesting this year. I experienced it for the first time in 2016, I think, and I think that's when before COVID.
I was like, excuse me.
So everything was bustling, right? Everything was happening. We weren't wearing masks and doing all this weird shit. So it was a different experience. This time around, it's interesting. It seems like Black people have been centered in this.
For real.
For real, about time.
So that's very interesting to see all that's happening with that.
But still.
Don't do anything for them unless they overpay you.
Making sure.
Unless they overpay you.
You just want to keep reminding people of that.
Go ahead and
Oh, yeah, I know you can't hear it, but.
Go ahead and shout out your Cash App one more again. Spell it out.
But also, y'all, Johannes is, this lost my train of thought. Johannes is on episode 2 and 3 of season 2 of Everyday Black Matter. Sorry, season 2 of Black Matter podcast. You know my own shit. So you can learn more about their work through those 2 episodes on the podcast, which you should subscribe to right now. And also Johannes's artist page, Instagram, and Cash App is in the episode description. So there's no excuse not to pay us right now. And Keys just put it on the screen because Keys is dope. So shout out to Keys. Yeah, see, there are some comrades that'll come volunteer. So you white guys that know the tech stuff, hit me up because but you won't ever be in front of the camera. You'll be behind the camera because you know some shit. Right. So there's definitely a way to get in touch with Johannes. The music making experience was new for me. It was amazing. Shout out to Sandy as well. Sandy, what's your last name? Sandy Williams, who introduced you to Johannes, who also has an InLight project. And shout out to your partner.
Yes, my wife, beautiful wife, Stephanie.
I didn't know. I have never met you in person, so I was like, I hope that Stephanie, because I was like, I don't know other folks who are here, but your InLight project is at Oakwood Art. So we're doing it. The Black academics are out here.
Yes.
And so all of us need to be paid. And I'm sure there are ways to look up all the Black artists who are in Richmond. And if you got a little bit of coin, you should definitely be contributing to our work because we have not just been doing this work for InLight. We've been doing this work way motherfucking before. And, I was doing Black Matter with a raggedy.
Child, you was in a cafe with a
I know.
Oh my God! But I loved it.
Yes, and so we have, we're grateful for these institutions that have helped us elevate our equipment and all those kinds of things. But the work doesn't stop with just InLight, so it's important to contribute to what we're doing. Anything else?
Shout out your Cash App one more time.
Oh yes.
Spell it out.
Yeah. So
and this '90s jean jacket is very cute.
I spelled it right.
I think. Did you get it, Keith?
Yeah, it's capital J and capital. If it's up on the screen right now, I think that'd be probably the best way to do that.
Is that 2 N's?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. So we Johannes Vermeer. Who else? We got Johannes Brahms. We got all those people with that same similar name. Yeah. So
Oh yeah, I know your Cash App was hard to find.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yes. I'm glad you stopped. I'm glad that you stopped by. I hope that InLight is going great for you and Stephanie.
Yeah, definitely.
Your project, Stephanie, is beautiful. I'm trying to get over there. It's been a busy InLight. That's the thing when we're all doing it. It's shout out to us all having the InLight opportunity, but there is a part of me that's damn, I wanted to go see Stephanie's project.
I know. I got.
Let me sneak out from this podcast real quick.
I want to shout out my project project real quick. The
Yes.
World We Want Is Us.
Wait, you're in InLight as well.
I know,
They
right.
call all the black
I
people.
know,
Look at them trying to be anti-racist. Let's just call everybody. Everybody black.
But mine, that I've collaborated with Southerners on New Ground, organization I work for, my political home. Artist Lord Chow Reeve, Shaza Burhan, shout out to y'all. We created depictions of what the city looks like once all of our demands are met, once there's a civilian oversight board, once the Marcus Alert is passed, that did just pass as a state law, once all the charges are dropped from people who have been protesting through the uprisings in defense of black life, once the case is reopened of Marcus David Peters, once all that happens, what does the city look like? What is it? What is the visceral experience of it? And so we actually illustrated that and cast it right up on the side of the ICA on Broad and Belvedere, one of the busiest intersections in all of the city. So y'all be sure to check that out. That'll be running tonight and tomorrow night as well. Just let it inspire, let it spark your radical imaginations, because we got a lot of work to keep doing. So we need that. We need that creative energy.
Yes, I love y'all. I'm really grateful for this kind of like sacred space that we can hold of just like honoring that we're a part of InLight this semester. I mean, academics. I know. I really hate when I do that. I'm trying to like not. Last night I said the ways in which 4 times. I was like, damn, you sound like a fucking academic. And they don't pay me enough to sound like them. I'm just really grateful that like we're all a part of InLight this
Time,
yeah. And, I love it. I just think, if anything's happening in 2020 that's positive, it's just, we're still making work. We're still doing the thing. We're still finding space to express ourselves. And I think, like, black expression is super, super fucking important right now for us to not get bogged down by all the shit that is going on this year. And I think it's a lot of work to hold space to still create.
Yeah.
I know when this pandemic shit first started, I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to, keep going in terms of, like, getting into the creative juices and journaling and all those things. So
but you juicy.
So it's been great. I congratulate all of y'all for like still doing the work.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Barracks.
Oh, yes.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna step out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
And we're so I want you, Rebecca, to close out your episode with whatever you want to tell the listeners. If you want to shout out, so for me, I want to shout out Black Mama's Bail Fund. Because is that what it's called? I definitely
Black Mama's Bailout.
Black Mama's Bailout. Yes, that's an organization that I've definitely sent some coin to, and any black organization that supports children of the incarcerated, I want to make sure that we shout out since we've really been talking about con artistry today, and that's how I'm connecting to con artistry.
I want y'all to check out a few organizations. No Left Turns. They do really great reentry work here in the city of Richmond. Blessing Warriors. They just help people who need it. Whether you houseless, whether you just down on your luck, whether you just can't afford your rent right now. Granted, we do have a moratorium on eviction, so if you can't pay your rent, you can't get evicted until December 31st.
Shout that out.
Yeah, but I just really want to shout out my political home and how I came to this ideology that I have of intersectional liberation, centering black and indigenous, queer people, trans people, people with disabilities, formerly incarcerated folks. That all came from an organization called Southerners on New Ground. I'm a Virginia statewide organizer for said organization. But also, I just want to if you are not part of an organization right now and you want to do movement work. A black organization or a multiracial organization, I think there's power in that.
Or just one where you can redistribute the coins.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Valentine.
Yeah, join an organization. Squad up with your people. Because
collaborate.
You're very mighty as an individual, but you're more effective with other people. So just join one if you ain't part of one.
Yes. And shout out to Wes Taylor, who helped get me into InLight and put all this together, who just texted me, said the do-rag is popping. Thank you. I love y'all. So we're going to close out with Johannes's beat, Con Artistry. I loved having this conversation with you, Rebecca.
Yeah.
And also, before we go, how can people follow you personally?
Y'all can follow me on Instagram at campaign_mama, or you can just follow me on Facebook at Rebecca C. Keel.
And your Cash App and Venmo is on the bottom of the screen, so
yes.
We're waiting for a
I would
contribution.
appreciate some coin because my little sister is about to have a baby, and we really need to buy a car seat. So hit me up, please.
Love y'all. Thank you for listening. We'll be back at 10 p.m. with another amazing guest, Chelsea Lamore.